like a benediction now.
You know, I've in writing this book, here's the thing that I'm struggling with the most. Because you're living and breathing and moving, people think they're still alive. But they're not. They're dead as a hammer. Because it's Jesus that lives his life in and through and for us and as us. You pull the plug on Jesus, you're done. You remember the story about the turtle that had his head cut off and he's still walking? And the guy says, is that turtle dead or alive? And Owen said, well, he can't be alive, he's walking. And he said he don't have a head, so he's got to be dead. So the third guy came up and he said, what's up with the turtle? He doesn't have a head, but he's still walking. Is he dead or alive? Oh, he's dead, he just don't know it. And that's the problem with us. We're dead, we just don't know it. You were dead before you got saved. You were dead in your trespasses and sin. And after Jesus became your life, you're still dead. I no longer live. Your old man, your old self doesn't live anymore. Jesus lives in you. We're dead both ways. We were dead in sin. Now we're dead. Our old man is dead and only Jesus lives in us. This is what I want you to understand. You know, Christina's got that violin and Steve's got the saxophone. There's a piano back there, and they're all nice. How do y'all like the music coming out of them now? Y'all don't hear it? You don't hear it? Why don't you hear it? Because that's a really nice saxophone and that's a really nice violin, but they don't make music unless the master picks it up and plays it. I want to read you a little poem. It's a song. And I know a lot of you hadn't heard it because all the best songs, I asked you if you've heard it. No, I never heard that before. So I'm not going to sing it for you. I'm going to have mercy on you. But I am going to read you the poem. 'Twas battered and scarred, and the auctioneer thought it hardly worth his while to waste his time on the old violin, but he held it up with a smile. What am I bid, good people, he cried, who starts the bidding for me? $1, $1, do I hear two? $2, who'll make it three? $3 once, $3 twice, going for three. But no, from the back of the room, a gray-bearded man came forward and picked up the bow. Then wiping the dust from the old violin and tightening up the strings, he played a melody pure and sweet as the angels sing. The music ceased, and the auctioneer, with a voice that was quiet and low, said, what am I now bid for this old violin? And he held it aloft with his bow. 1,000, 1,000, do I hear two? 2,000, who'll make it three? 3,000 once, 3,000 twice, going and gone, said he. The audience cheered, but some of them cried, we just don't understand. What changed its worth? Swift came the reply. It was the touch of the master's hand. And many a man with life out of tune, all battered and bruised with hardship, is auctioned cheap to a thoughtless crowd, much like that old violin. A mess of pottage, a glass of wine, a game, and he travels on. He's going once, he's going twice, he's going and almost gone. But the master comes, and the foolish crowd can never quite understand the worth of a soul and the change that is wrought by the touch of the master's hand. We're just instruments. It's the master that lives in and through and for us and as us. See, that's what I have such a hard time. Everywhere I go, I talk to people and they want to know what our church is like. And I tell them it's unlike any place I've ever been. And they'll tell me, I used to go to church, but I don't go anymore. And I wonder, why don't they go to church? They don't go to church because of the little c church, the religious church. They've never seen. How can you turn Jesus down for a God who loves you unconditionally? Let me ask you, is there a church, little c church, that loves you unconditionally? No, they'll tell you, now, if you do this, you'll be blessed. And if you do that, you'll be all right. But it's all about you performing. And we're about as empty. Bill Lovelace gave this little illustration. This is what I believe there are people genuinely saved. And the water, they have the water of life in them. Jesus is in them. But it doesn't do them any good because nothing's coming out. See? I could die of thirst waiting for this thing to come up and hold it in my hand. But for the water to come out, you have to do what? You have to open it. Then you can pour it out. His life flows in, through, for us, and as us, but this is what's stopping us up. We will not believe what he says. And we will not walk in it. We will not trust him. I spent an hour with my buddy, Major Funderburk, the other day. It's the only place I've ever been that I quit preaching and they told me I wasn't through yet. It's the only place I've ever been like that. Most of the time they tell me, stop. And I talked about 20 minutes and Major said, you got another 45 minutes to go. You got to fill up the airtime. Never had happened that before. And all we talked about was the faithfulness of God for the next 45 minutes. People stand up and take notice, not by what we do for God, by what God does for us. And then all we got to do is just get out of the way. We just got to get out of the way. I want to talk about what I wish I'd known sooner. Ben wrote down some things like that, and I liked the title, so I decided I'm going to take a few of those that I wish I'd have known. You know what my number one thing was, what I wish I'd have known sooner? Was that God didn't create me to live for him. He created me so he could live for me. Nobody told me that. I was told you live for God, you do for God. God needs you to do something for him. Let me ask you a question. What in the world does God need us to do that he can't do? Now you think about that, how ludicrous it is. I got a couple of grandkids here today. We don't have grandkids for them to live for me. Believe me. We don't have them to live for me. We live for them. We live for them. And delight in doing it. I don't know if they'd love me as much if I didn't have an iPad, but it's the way it goes. They say that little boy was so ugly they had to tie a pork chop around his neck to get the dog to play with him. Well, I don't know if my boys would love me if I didn't have a Papa. They come in, give me a hug. Papa, where's your iPad? So it's kind of the way it is. Hey, thank God for an iPad, or we wouldn't get to see him at all. But anyway. But when people understand that grace is the desire and the power to do God's will, the desire and the power to do God's will. Without it, you can't live. It is a power supply. That fiddle over there sounds really good when Christine goes up there and runs her bow across it and moves her finger, and the saxophone and the piano and the drums. If Jesus did, and the beautiful thing about it, at the majors meeting the other day, we watched the metamorphosis thing about the butterflies. And we looked about how they changed. And there's 20,000 species of butterflies. Isn't it amazing that all those species, just the butterflies, 20,000 species. We're not talking about all the other animals and insects. Just the butterflies. Isn't that amazing that all of those things that we see around us came out of one little amoeba that came out of a soup in the cosmos? Isn't it amazing that that happened? It's just mind-boggling, isn't it? How ludicrous is that? And every one of those species of butterflies, it's like God painted them different, every single one of them. And you look at one and say, oh, that is magnificent. Then you see another, oh, well, look at that. And that's what I see when I see y'all out here. I see such a beautiful expression of Jesus in creation by looking at every single one of you that he has made so unique and so different. That's why we love to be together. You know, we glean from each other. We glean grace from each other. Because grace is not only the desire and the power to do God's will, it is also what God does what? For us. You know, radio plays really nice too, and it will play really nice until you do what? Pull the power source off. And then it stops playing. It can be worth $10,000 to be the best radio possible, but if you pull the plug, the little transistor is just as good as the big expensive one. It has no source. What happens to people is people think that they can live from their own source, not from God as the source. And our whole life is lived in independence. Independence. And now you come to Jesus, and Jesus said, no, just like the video. Just like that. I want to take all the trash for you, Kat. I want to take all the trash for you. No, Jesus, I want to keep this one to remind me that, I don't want to do that anymore. That is the bugaboo about letting Jesus live in your life, is we don't know how to be dependent. It is more blessed to give than to receive. That's what religion tells us, and it is. But let me listen to me. You do not have anything to give unless you first receive it. There ain't nothing in you. You're like an empty plastic water bottle that cannot quench your thirst. You can't pour any water. This thing is worthless unless somebody has put water in it, and I can take it and drink it. It has to receive the water before it can give out the water. There's nothing in it. And you see, that's hard for us we live in a world where if you do good, you get good, you do bad, you get bad. And we don't want, it's a sign of irresponsibility and slothfulness and laziness to let Jesus do it for you. And they think, well, it means that I don't do anything. Yeah, God uses this vehicle just like these musicians use these instruments. That saxophone doesn't work until the breath that Steve blows through it and the fingers make the notes. Jesus breathed life into Adam, and he became what? A living soul. What was he before then? A hunk of mud. That's all he was. And Jesus breathed into him the breath of life. He became a living soul, because in him we live and move and have our beings. Religion told me I had to let Jesus wash my sins away, but it was up to me to live like him. That like to kill me. Just like the video. Jesus delights. It's my job, Kat, to take your trash. That's what I do. It's not bothering me. I like to do that. People come and there's people don't come to talk to me because I know how busy you are and I don't want to what? Bother you. It does not bother Jesus to take care of us. Then we get that little thing where, okay, I've lost my keys. Does Jesus know where my keys are? Yeah. My buddy Hank, Sir Hank, told me today that he's lost a couple of things. He had a friend that he asked where it was, and he showed him where it was. I mean, Jesus delights in doing it for us. Now, did he have to go find what he was looking for? Yeah, but Jesus told him where it was. He gave him the power to walk over there to get it. It's not us living on our own. It's Jesus living in and through and for us and as us. How did we get saved? By grace through what? Faith. For by grace are you saved through faith. That not of yourselves, it's the gift of God, not of works lest anyone should boast. Okay, now that you're saved by grace through faith, nobody showed me Colossians 2:6. It says, so then, just as you have received Christ Jesus as your life, how did you do that? By grace through what? Faith. That's how you got saved. How are we supposed to walk in Him? By, same way, by grace through faith. You got to walk. One step won't do it. You take one step, and then you take another step. And here's what I get. I just don't feel righteous. I don't feel peaceful. I don't feel joyful. They're measuring who they are based on how they feel. Based on how they feel. Let's take somebody that goes to the doctor and they say, and the doctor says, we got your labs back and it's not really good. You got about 3 months to live. And what happens to your soul? Oh, Lord, what am I going to do? You start worrying about what you're going to do. How you going to take care of your family? We start worrying about that. Then 2 days later, he calls you up. He said, I am so sorry. I made a terrible, terrible mistake. We got your report mixed up with somebody else. You're perfectly healthy. Now, how do you think the soul feels about that? Did anything change? No, not a thing changed. The guy was healthy before he was told the bad news. He was healthy after he told the bad. But his soul went from down here to up here based on false information. Do you understand that? False information. Fear is false evidence appearing real. That's what fear is. Here's the evidence. Nothing is ever going to change between you and Jesus. Yeah, we might struggle with stuff. We may have a terminal disease. Miss McKenna's going through some stuff where she's paralyzed. That's going to be her life. But there's going to come a day where God's going to make it all right. All right. That is not our final destination. We got about that long in it here compared to eternity. And here's Sharon mentioned something Tuesday morning. As we walk, we gain confidence in the Lord. You hear me? Does God get any better? No. But we gain confidence in Him. You remember the video where Jesus and Kat saying, Kat, I want you to turn around, I want you to fall back, and I'll catch you. You remember that? No, I don't. Oh, Jesus. Jesus, okay. I'll fall back, I'll catch you. And then she, okay. That's mental assent. That's not. Then she finally said, okay, I'll do it. And she falls back. Jesus catches her what? Just like He said He would. Now she's good to go. Okay, Jesus, let's do it again. Let's do it again. Let's do it again. And then He says, okay, all right, we're going to do it another way. I want you to turn around and face the wall. I want you to turn around and face me. Face me. Now, here we go. So you want me to fall forward? No, I don't want you to fall forward. I want you to fall backwards. And she says, there's nobody back there. Nobody back there. I know. I told you, trust me. But she won't fall backwards because she can't see it. Faith is not faith until if you can see it. Well, Jesus' love, if I say God is what? God is, first thing comes to your mind. Love, okay. 1 Corinthians 13 says, love never fails. Love never fails. He cannot lie. He is the truth. If He tells you, it's truth. And see, we're missing out on it because we won't take the top off. And what happens is, she took one step and she fell back. She's got confidence in God this way. But is she going to have confidence this way or when He's not even back there? As you, over the years, start to walk in Him, your confidence will grow to the extent now that As soon as I don't know where I put stuff, I don't start looking for it. I'll say, where is my watch? Lord, you know where it's at. Would you tell me where my watch is? And he will tell me immediately where it's at. You say, well, that's just coincidence. And then I'll find it and I'll say, never mind, Lord, I got it. Like the car with the parking lot, parking place. If your grandboy came up and said, Papa, do you know where my book bag is? Yeah, I know. I ain't telling you. I ain't telling you. I know you got to go to school, but I ain't telling you. I want you to go without a backpack. I want the teacher to fuss at you. That's what I know. I ain't telling you. Would you do that? Are you a better papa than God is? You don't think God cares about where your watch is? Well, no, not really, because he's got bigger fish to fry. He's got people just all over the world having a lot more difficult time than finding my... Do you think God can't take care of your watch without taking care of all the other stuff too? Do you think he's not big enough to do that? When my grandkids get hurt, wounded, I stop everything, go over there and take care of them. Do I have bigger fish to fry? Yeah, but right then I don't. And I'm limited in what I can do for them, but God's not limited in what he does for us. We're going to talk more about this next week. But one thing I want to leave you with today is, in all your ways acknowledge him, and he will direct your paths. All your ways, no matter what. Nothing is too small. Nothing is too small. Ask him about everything. I've got to the place where I'm afraid to even move, live, do anything without talking to him about it. And I have eliminated basically I and me from my vocabulary. It's we. Because me and Jesus are fused. We are one. I can't go anywhere he doesn't go, and he can't go anywhere where I don't go, because we are absolutely one. Which is what this table is all about down here. We have become one with Christ. This is his body, which we eat, and he becomes one with us. His blood washes our sins away and gives us life. And so that's what we come to the table for today. So let's pray. I'm going to ask the servers to come forward as we partake of the Lord's Supper today. Papa, thank you for the blessing of this meal today. I can't imagine life without you. I lived a long time without you, but I didn't know it. And I thank you for opening our eyes, Lord, so we can see. I thank you for the table that we're about to come to. I asked you to bless us, open the eyes, kind of like on the road to Emmaus, where the two guys were walking along with you, and all of a sudden, they said, "You're Jesus." When they broke the bread, they saw this was Jesus walking along with us. And that's why we do this in remembrance of you. So we thank you, and we love you, and we praise you in your precious name as we come to take this meal.